Welcome back to iFishNews Fishing Podcasts. I'm Glenn, your host. In this round, learn to fish by our trials and errors, and what we're talking about are some Q&A questions. This round, we've got a question from a reader. This one, correction, a viewer from YouTube. It was a question concerning jugline fishing and some of the material or things that we're using to do the jug lining. So let's just go right into the question. So the question went specifically on asking about, well, shoot, let's go ahead and bring up the question here. I think I've got it in my notes section. Okay, so what I'm describing here is the question. Would it be possible for you to draw some pictures to show details as to how you built and set up your jug lines, type of hook, sink, we're guessing sinker, line test, as well as space things, how we spaced everything. So we'll go into some details there. And luckily, I have a way to go into more detail with some articles that we have posted. Let's go ahead and go through the specific questions asked. Okay, so I just showed a view of the question that was asked, and so now I'm going to just go right into some detail. So the first piece I want to be able to bring up is how we built the jug line. So there's two articles that we posted over the years. One's called Jugline Fishing, and the other one is Kayak Jug Fishing. And in jugline fishing, it goes into some details as some specific jugs that we use for a flagging style. So when you get a catfish striking, definitely get something to bite. It'll flag and show that it's got a fish on. And then we shifted over to a kayak fishing version of it, as well as some various other methods to set up your jug line. And most recently, we've now switched over to one that we bought commercially, the Jugger jug line, as well as the that's this magenta colored one that we made recently, where we combined that concept of a Jugger jug line and tied it into it being a buoy also. So let me go and show some detail there. And then if there is some more questions or some details needed, definitely take a look at those two articles that I posted. So let's go with the commercial one that we bought. It's a Jugger jug line. Looks like this. All right, and what happens is it's two white styrofoam, or sort of like the same thing that you use for pool noodles. And inside it's got like a little plastic thing that, like an axle, and it just kind of sits there on top. And then it has a little line clip. So after you deploy it, it'll hold its position and that depth. And from the setup for this one in particular, we like using duck hunting decoy weights. I think they're like, I don't know how heavy they are, maybe 6 ounces or so, and they seem to hold pretty good for what we're doing. And then on the hooks being used, most recently, we're using a circle hook. In this case, we're starting to try tying them directly to the line right here. Maybe tough to see. Let me take it over here because I got the green screen on. Okay. And we'll usually start out about 2 feet off the bottom. So here's the sinker. And about 2 feet above that is where we'll put the first hook. And then if we're fishing deep, we may go another 2 or 3 feet above that and add another hook. But what we've been fishing lately is mainly just 2 foot off the bottom and then adjusting from there. Let's see. So that was the first one. And let's see. Hooks, sinkers, line test. Okay, so from a line test standpoint, this one comes with a 150-pound nylon braided line. On the one that we made, we're using actually some duck decoy line, as well as some 50-pound mono on one of the other ones. So let me go ahead and show you that one. Okay, so this is that one. That's the magenta one, and this is in the article on how we made it. It's basically a PVC. I think it's about 1.5 inches. Has 2 caps on the end, and then these 2 magenta buoys made from your little pool noodles. And then what we did was we added some weights to the bottom here and here. And what that does is it'll sit just like a marker buoy. So we can just drop it and let it roll to hits the bottom, and then we can come back around in the kayak, and then we'll reclip the line, and makes it easier for deploying. Different from the jugger one is it doesn't come with the commercial variety clip that you saw there on the jugger. But on this one, what we did instead was we took these trot line clips, and we'll just zip tie it here, and that allows us to hold the line in place once we set the depth we want for that given body of water that we're fishing. Also got another circle hook set here, and we've been playing around recently with these from the hook standpoint, because two things. We tried several setups in the past. First one we were doing is what it came from the jugger pack that we set. They come in a 3-pack. You've got a swivel. You've got about a length of line that's been doubled over. It's about maybe a foot. And then you got a J hook. Pretty sharp hook that it comes with. And in there, all we'll do is just make a loop in the line, on the main line, sort of like a little surgeon's knot or dropper loop. And then we'll put this swivel on there, and it'll hang so. And that'll be the first one that we have out there on that first like 2 foot off the bottom. And if we have another one, then we'll put another one. So that seems to work, but sometimes they'll tangle and get messed up. So we have to make some adjustments there. But other than that, we've been having pretty good luck with this setup. But then always got to find other ways and means, especially when you're out there in the kayak or the john boat. You got to limited space and things are in a hurry. What we started then was we take a trot line clip, apply that swivel, and put that same hook, so that same dropper loop, using this method. And what we did then was we knotted the line. So right here, you'll see there's a knot that's in the line itself. What we'll then do is we'll just clip the trot line clip to it. And there's a knot above it and below it in case it slips up and down. And we find that this setup does well for us for the most part, and allows us to deploy at different depths fairly easily and not have to worry about, oh, I'm stuck at this depth, I need to go up another foot or two. We already have these pre-knotted, so we'll just put another one about another foot or two above it, and sure enough, we're ready to go. So that's what we've been doing for the most part for several years as an improvement. And we find that it does work, but then what ends up happening is you'll lose your trot line clip, you'll forget about your trot line clip, you won't have any extras, and other times the fish are twisting off or rolling off. So we made an adjustment just this past year where instead we're just tying it directly onto the line itself with just a little dropper. And it's not even really a dropper, it's more of just a surgeon's loop. So let me show you this one. Okay, so this one is just right on the line. It's almost like a drop shot setup when you're fishing for bass. And so we tried this method, and that seems to work. The main thing that we noticed, especially with the circle hooks as well as J hooks, but mainly with the circle hooks, is don't reel your line in. Right here. So you're fishing along and you start doing this to bring in the fish. Well, what's happening is your line's going up and down, and next thing you know, the fish, there's some slack in the line, the fish gets off. Had that happen several times this last time. So luckily, one of our fishing buddies explained, you've already got your depth set. We're fishing shallow waters. Don't worry about getting tangled. You can untangle if need be. Just go ahead and maintain a steady pull on the line and bring the fish in. So instead of doing the winding motion up and down, just a steady pull, maintain that slack out of the line. We had a better success rate in boating those catfish. All righty, let's see what else we have here. Answered the question on hooks. I'll add some more detail on hooks. Okay, so we mentioned the circle hook. Here's the J hook. This is one example. This is from Eagle Claw Laser Line O'Shaughnessy live bait hook, 2-watt. This is the one that we buy to replace the ones that came with the kit that we bought with the jugger line. Here's another view of, let's see if I can get closer. There we go. And that's just the J hook. And all it is just got the big eye. That's the difference that we notice with these trot line hooks, is you got this big eye, so it allows you to put the loop through the eye and set your hook instead of having to do a bunch of tying and whatnot. So that is the little dropper setup that we use. All right. So far, any questions or for anyone out there? If not, just put in the comments when we post this. We're going to put this on iFishNews, our fishing podcast version of it for those that are able to listen in. And then we'll also put it on our YouTube channel, COAF Field Team. All right, so that was a question on the hook. So J-hook, circle hook, replacement O'Shaughnessy that we pick up from Eagle Claw. Looking at the sinkers. So again, we use our decoy weights here. We also have some 6-ounce bank sinkers. Those work okay, but we kind of tend to the decoy weight for 2 reasons. The right weight for what we need just to hold the jugger or the jug line in place, even when it gets windy. But if a good one hits, he's going to move it still, but we can still chase it down. Additionally, we like that you can bend it. So you just bend it right around the shaft of the jug, and then you can just put it in the back of your little kayak container or in your john boat and not have to have a bunch of things rolling about, because you definitely don't want to get tangled while you're in the boat. All right, so that's the sinkers. The line test. What comes with the jugger set is a 150-pound test for the ones that we made, because we duck hunted, kept a lot of our decoy equipment. So we get the decoy weights. Well, in this case, we're using braided decoy line. I don't know what the test is, but I think it's much heavier than the 150-pound test. That one catfish that we caught that one year that went 38 inches is not a problem with this line, as well as the 150-pound test. Additionally, there's a mono one that we use. It's about a 50-pound test mono. We only have it on one of the jugs, but for some reason it gets hit more than the other ones, and I don't know why. It's like we'll set out the 3 magenta colored ones that we made, acting like an anchor buoy or marker buoy because of the weights on the bottom of the styrofoam. And it seems that one seems to get hit more than the other 2, but not sure why. Okay, next item, spacing. Okay, so mentioned spacing. Normally start off 2 foot off the bottom. Maybe up it another foot or 2 or 3 feet or so, but we usually just fish 1 hook, especially in the areas that we've been fishing. It's not very deep, about maybe 8 to 10 feet at the most. If we do go into deeper water, we'll definitely still set one at the 2 to 3 foot level. The next one will be about 3 foot above that as well. And most times we'll max out at 3 hooks. In the summertime, once we find where the thermocline is, then we'll just start setting our hook just around the thermocline depth and start setting our jug lines at that depth. Here's some by the ways to keep in mind that weren't asked, but we suggest that folks that are, especially in the Texas area, keep in mind. One is you got to have your jug line tagged. A gear tag is what they call it. Okay, it's got to have your name and the address that's on your fishing license. It has to have the date. So what we'll typically do is just take some duct tape, write it on it with a Sharpie. It makes it usually through the season. Every once in a while, I'll have to freshen it up with some more Sharpie. But we'll lay it on one side of the jug. And then we'll get another duct tape, and we'll put it on the other side. And that one will just write the date that we're going out that given day. If we're going to be fishing for the weekend or a few days, we'll leave that same date on there. I believe it's either a 10 or 15 day. It used to be 30 days, but I think it changed. That from the date that you put that jug line out, I think you can use it for about 10 to 15 days. I'll look up what the regs say and post it in the comments just to keep everyone honest so that we don't break the rules. But you do have to have a date. If it's more than that given time period, we'll just tear it off and put on a new one with the date that I'm going out again. All right, so gear tag, and make sure you have the date on there. Colors, okay. It used to be way back when your jug line had to be white in color. So the marker, the buoy, whatever you're using, had to be white. So you see folks out there with Clorox bottles, the white Clorox bottles or bleach bottles. Those were because they're white. Orange was limited to commercial fishermen. So you had to have a commercial license, and you could have your jug line that orange color. Things changed, I believe it was about 2-3 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Now it is any color for the recreational fishermen, and orange is reserved for the commercial fishermen. So you can use any color. What we tend to do is back in the day, we would just repurpose the white styrofoam closed cell, whatever it's made. But now we're just using pool noodles. Specifically in this case, for the magenta ones that we make, we're using the big pool noodle. I think it's about 4 inches right here. And it's got a hole in the middle that you can definitely squeeze in your PVC. And you can see that it's magenta, so you're good to go with that color, since I'm a recreational fisherman in this case. Last thing, stringers. So yours truly has a tendency to lose stringers or forget stringers, as well as some of the stringers that I've used ended up losing the fish while putting it on the stringer. So most recently, when we're fishing out in the kayak, we'll use a tennis ball float stringer. So it's basically some paracord with a tennis ball on the end, and then using shower clips to hold the catfish in place, or correction, the fish in place that we've caught. What happens there is you're able to hold the line in the kayak and then put the clip on there after you've clipped it on the catfish, and then if it does slip off, it falls back in the kayak or back into the boat. When we're in the John boat, we've switched over to, especially for larger fish, it's just one. Let me go grab it here. All it is some weed eater line right here. We've got a little buoy or float that we picked up from some catfish fishing that we did way back. So it's a pretty good size when it kind of floats there. And then we've got attached to it a weed eater line, the green one. And then on the end of it, all we did was make a loop on the end, put in some paracord, and then a nail. And what we do then is we'll slip the catfish in the mouth, put it on the stringer, slide it on, and then it's got a little loop here, and we'll just clip it to a carabiner, and then we'll just clip it to the side of the John boat, and that holds well. It's holds some big catfish, so we've not had any problems with that, as well as not losing any because you put it on while you're in the boat. All right, so that's all for now. We'll plan to get this one posted here, do some editing and whatnot, and hopefully we've answered the mail specifically to our viewer who asked us on YouTube what was the gear and how we did our setups. So appreciate those that were able to join today, and hopefully we'll get this out here sooner than later so that maybe we can have some other folks let us know how they did out juglining. All right, next time, we'll catch y'all later, and good luck and good fishing.